Can everyone be quiet, please? Are you all ready?
Yep.
Perfect. Hello, my name is Klaus, and I'm here today to present my history essay. I've written this essay for History A, but also I'm writing it for my English C product. And my topic for my history was to answer the question, was the bombing of German industrial cities justified? I will talk more about my subject later, and also in the end we will try to answer this question in a yes or no fashion. But first I'll go through what I will present for you today. Please work. There we go. First off, I'll present what I've learned from my essay, how my essay has improved my English, and how it might help me in the future. Then I'll talk more about my essay, my topic, my different perspectives that I used, and also my sources. Then I'll talk about my conclusion, what conclusion I came up with, and also we do a kind of joint voting on what we think together on the subject. Then, cake. For you people who listen to me and pay attention, will receive cake. So please pay attention and you'll have cake. Let's begin. How has this improved my English? Well, for this subject, we were obligated to use written sources, academic books, and formal research paper. This was to strengthen our analysis and to make our essay in general better and make it more believable. Or as Martin Musker put it, to differentiate ourselves from the common bloke in the bar to an academic student. So for this subject, I read a lot of books on the subject, which has improved my reading. And when I read these books, I stumbled upon a couple of unfamiliar words I tried to understand and learn and use in my essay, not only to make it better, but also to learn them. So I have improved my vocabulary. And then these books that I have read, they contain a lot of information. And for my essay, I was only obligated to use the most important information. So it's essential to me to sort out the information that was most important and use it in my essay to make it better and more professional. And then I learned that I improved my ability to use keywords because they're the ones that contain the best information. This is also something we have been doing in English C. We worked on Hofstede and on different isms. And this is something I believe will help me in the future when I work in a company or I run a business and I'm exposed to a lot of different information or tasks, and it's very important to me to be able to sort out what's important and be able to focus on that before taking action. And in that sense, become more efficient. But then to the essay. My essay, as said in the beginning, was all about answering the question, was the bombing of German industrial cities justified? Justified means if it fulfilled its objective, so if it was a success or a failure, basically. And the bombing of German industrial cities was something that happened during World War II. It was the Allies' plan to try to force the Germans to surrendering earlier. And I'll talk more about that now, what that actually meant. The plan was to select the 58 biggest German cities that had industrial connections, as cities that contained industries and factories. And the plan was then to take a bunch of bombing planes and drop massive amounts of bombs upon the city, creating something called area bombing or carpet bombing. And it's when you drop the bombs and then form a kind of carpet explosion pattern, which causes massive destruction. And it results in something like this. Maybe it's a little too dark to see, but it's a city that is basically in ruins. It's a picture of Dresden after its bombings. But the idea wasn't only to bomb the buildings to destroy the factories and the industries, but its main target was the civilians. The plan was to bomb the civilians and the workers to make them suffer so much that they will become very unhappy, the morale would decrease, and they would stop working. They would become very frustrated and try to force Hitler, by uprising and revolting against him, to push him to earlier surrender and preventing from more soldiers getting killed. And that was basically the plan, also known as Notion 22, and was enforced in 1942. And the plan worked, and it was forced through the whole war to 1945. And different perspectives and sources. My different perspectives I used. First, Sir Arthur Harris. He's the man who came up with this plan. He's the Chief of Bomber Command in the Royal Air Force. And Albert Speer, who's the armament minister for Hitler, who was the armament minister for Hitler. He handled all the production of military equipment. And then we have Max Hastings, a guy who wrote a book about the bombings and knows a lot about it, and have also some very valid opinions about it. And to gain information with these different people, for Harris and Speer, I read many of their memoirs, tried to find quotes that symbolize something they actually said and believed in. And for Max Hastings, I read his own book and checked his sources and what statistics he used. Sir Arthur Harris' opinions about the area bombings was that he believed it was a success. Of course, he is the one who came up with the plan, so he believed that it was a success, that morale decreased, that production decreased, and also that the Germans were put in a defensive role, which made them, it was hard for them to be able to gather troops and equipment for an invasion. Instead, they focused on defending their cities against the bombings. But Albert Speer believed, however, that the morale didn't decrease, but actually increased, since the population became very angry towards the British when they were bombed, and used all that anger and frustration to work harder and fight harder. And Max Hastings believed that the production did not decrease, but actually increased, since Speer was able to move some of his factories underground, and also that the frustration that I talked about earlier made them work harder, which made the production go up instead of down. So these are the three major perspectives and opinions I used in my essay to form my analysis and to actually then make my conclusion. And then we come to the conclusion. So what's the answer to this question? If the bombings of German industrial cities was justified? Well, let's do a voting in class. For all of you who believe that the bombing of German industrial cities was justified, can raise their hands. 1. Sorry, and for us who, the British were actually wrong on this one. And my short answer for this was no. My long answer for this was no. My academic answer, however, was the cost of bomber offensive, in life, treasure, and morale superiority over the enemy tragically outstripped the results that it achieved. These are not actually my own words. This is, I quoted Max Hastings in this one. But I think what he sums up and says in this sentence is a great summary of my belief on the conclusion. It basically states that the bombing did contain valid targets, but in the end of the war, when they continued to bomb, and then it was obvious that the Germans would lose, it wasn't really necessary for the bombings, and it only cost lives and destruction of cultural heritage. So, this is pretty much my essay, but then we come to the end, of course, the cake. For you, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry to say, but the cake is a lie. I only used it to get your attention, so you listen to me throughout my presentation. And I hope you have learned as much as I have from this essay and my presentation, and wish you a lovely afternoon.